January 4th. I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we tell a geek fable of New Year's parties past and present.
Let's do this.
So today I encountered what might be called an awkward social situation, and being tired from the whole week as I am, instead of dealing with it pithily, I dealt with it in a rather lame manner.
How awkward could it be when you're just walking around the city for work?
No, there was some trickery involved, and in addition to that, I mean, doing this show and just from the stuff we did at RIT, a lot of people tend to know us who we don't know them. So we'll be out somewhere like at a con, and someone will come up and say, "Hey, Rim and Scott, woo, it's great to see you," or something like that, and we'll be like, look at each other with the, "Who the hell is this?" look.
Is he from RIT? Does he listen to the show? Did we meet him at a con? Did we play board games with him? Who is this person? Oh, God.
Yep. Is it my brother? Is it
Is it a friend of a friend?
Yep. Is it just some stranger trying to con us? We don't know. And there's no way for us to know at this point. We know there too many people seek us out. So as a result, and especially, if I'm wide awake, I tend to deal with it better, and usually I just kind of manage. But if I'm tired, kind of secondary to the whole conversation, I tend to go on autopilot in social situations that I'm not particularly caring about or enamored with.
The real will just be like, "Hey," not saying who you are or anything.
Well, you heard yesterday when we were tired, and I kept going, "Things of the day," and I'm all loud and boisterous, even though I'm just tired as Scott. I can go on autopilot socially for a long time before I finally pass out. So I'm over lunch at work going to the supermarket to pick up some lip balm because my lips are a little bit chapped.
Bomb.
And I buy some, and on my way out, this girl, this somewhat attractive girl, who kind of, in retrospect, looks like a few people I knew, like, back in high school, says, like, hey. And I'm about to walk out, and just, hey again. So I turn around, and this girl's looking right at me. And she says something like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And it's definitely the, "Hey, how you doing?" of, I know you. So I stand there for a second.
Maybe she just thought you were someone else.
No. That's where it gets interesting. So I stand there, and I go, "Oh, hey." And she says, "What brings you here?" I'm holding my little chapstick, my little mango butter organic chapstick. Not for any organic reasons, but just because I like the taste of it. And I'm like, at this point, my brain is going, I know this person, obviously, or they know me. Must react in socially responsible manner, alpha B.
I just came to buy a chapstick.
No. So I say, "Hey, fancy seeing you here."
Of course.
Which I say a lot.
What if it was someone that actually just thought you were someone else and you said that?
Well, the thing is, I had turned around. I was close enough to where there was no way this person could have mistaken me for someone else. Now, after I say this, she stands there, unmoving, looking at me, and her eyes change, and they give me the look of, "Oh shit, I don't know how to deal with this situation. This is not the social interaction I expected." So now I'm standing there going, damn it, now what? And we're both standing there staring at each other.
"So who are you?"
No, before I can react, because remember, I'm tired. You know, when I'm tired and I really don't expect, like, I'm in a place where I don't expect to run into anyone. Like, I'm at a diner alone somewhere in the Bronx. The odds of me running into someone I know there are practically zero. And especially the way she engaged me with this, "Hey, how you doing?" was, it threw me off. So then she snaps out of it and she says, "Well, come on over." So I'm like, and I walk over there. My mind's going, all right, serial killer? What's going on? Stalker?
Maybe she's with someone that you know. Then you'll be like, "Oh."
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm not awake enough to come up with some funny way to get out of this. And then she brings me over to a table, and on this table is a bunch of charity bullshit. And she starts trying to give me the rigmarole of, buy this t-shirt to save homeless kids. And then I realized that she was using the overly friendly demeanor to trick people into walking over in order to get them to, or guilt them into buying this charity BS.
Oh.
And the fact that I reacted in a normal social manner and the fact that I reacted in a way she didn't expect totally threw her off. So then, after she goes into her standard sales pitch, I, at this point, don't care anymore, and I'm tired. So instead of making up something funny or being like, "Sorry, I gotta go kill a cat," or something stupid, I just kind of go, "Sorry, I don't have any cash," which is the total cop-out answer. And she says, "Don't worry about that. We take Visa and MasterCard."
Nah.
And I just look at her for a second. I shrug, and I just walk away. And I look back.
You didn't give her the finger?
I just walked away. I was like,
given the finger.
I gave her the, without saying so much, I basically gave her the gesture that means, I know, you caught me in my lie. You caught me in my bluff. I'm well aware of that, and I don't care because I'm not going to interact with you anyway. So I walk out, and as I look into the window, kind of as I'm walking out, she's still looking at me with this look of, what the fuck was up with that guy? And I just went back to my car and drove back to my office, drank a couple of Red Bulls, and went on with my day.
Mm-hmm.
And now I spent 5 minutes and some 30 seconds telling everyone in the world about this. So, what do we got in the news, Robin?
I'm chewing some bubble gum, actually a blow pop, and it's all crunchy. So I'm holding the microphone away from my face so you don't hear this.
Now, see, I wasn't looking at Scott while I was talking, so I kept pausing, waiting for Scott to come in. And then finally I turn and look at him like, you gonna say something? And he just gives me the look of, I'm chewing on something. And we sat here for several seconds in silence.
That's how these things go.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut all that silence out, but suffice to say, it was there. So anyway, in the news, being Thursday, I can talk about whatever I want. And it seems like Brazil, the country Brazil, is trying to put forth a lot more clout and influence over the internet than it has any warrant to do. See, a while ago, there was some sort of illegal pornography issue on Orkut, which is the popular in Brazil social networking software that was nominally put out by Google.
There are also drug dealers using Orkut. Orkut is basically a thing kind of like, not really MySpace, but like a
Friendster.
Like a Friendster Facebook that a guy at Google made, and there was a hubbub about it, and then it died, except in Brazil, where it was adapted heavily.
Yeah, well, in fact, it's more that it was half endorsed by Google, and it was really kind of cool. And then someone invited someone from the nation of Brazil, and within a week, Orkut was done. It was just over. There were more Brazilian people speaking other languages than there were. I almost said Brazilian. Than there were, anyone else or any other nationality or any other language. So now it's just a den of child pornography and drug dealers and just general mayhem. And Brazil said, hey, Google, shut this shit down and give us the names of the people posting. And Google said, yeah, Brazil, sue us.
Orkut's had problems lately. I think I heard it was down for a while and it came back.
It had problems when it was new. It never really worked.
I know,
so
but
well.
it's having big problems lately. I think it might be finally dead instead of just dead.
That's fine. So
that would be a good thing if it died.
So more recently, the ex-wife of Ronaldo, who is very famous in the game of football, or for you Americans, soccer, there was a video of his ex-wife having sex. This video was posted on YouTube.
Doesn't YouTube not allow sexy videos?
YouTube, the thing is, even if it gets taken down, I mean, any time a video is popular, for every one that gets taken down, like 10 more get posted. And honestly, I think that part of YouTube's strategy is that they purposefully allow such things to happen so that they can say that they put forth the good faith effort of removing the offending copyright whatever. Yet at the same time, they know that the users are going to keep posting them. Sometimes they'll change the spelling. Sometimes they'll post it in like 10 parts, so it's not easy to find. And they'll just keep posting it, and the stuff is always there. And nothing YouTube does keeps the stuff from being there.
Well, the reason people post it in 10 parts is because YouTube only allows like 10 minutes of video in one shot. So you have to break up your TV shows into 2 or 3 parts.
No, but I've seen things broken up into more parts than that.
Oh, I have, yeah.
Especially things that are very likely to be taken down. But
or things that are long.
I definitely think there's some implicit cooperation between between YouTube and all these people posting illegal stuff.
Well, Google does own YouTube now.
Yeah, so that's why I got confused. But this is specifically YouTube. Google's not mentioned anywhere in here. Until at the end about Orkut. Funny how it's always Google who gets involved in this stuff with Brazil. But anyway, Brazil and Ronaldo and his ex-wife have sued and ordered whatever, and it came down to Brazil ordering YouTube to shut down until they resolve the issue. Now,
is YouTube in Brazil physically?
No.
Then tough shit.
Google/YouTube's response was basically a giant middle finger.
That's what I would expect.
And I don't know where Brazil gets off. I mean, if we tried to shut down some Brazilian website, you can bet that the Brazilians would be pissed at us. And the government would make a sting about how, yeah, we're defying those evil Americans trying to mess with our internet. And yet they're trying to get us to take down
think
their
about
sex
this,
tapes.
right? Imagine if the Ford Motor Company, right, did something to upset the country of
Paraguay,
right? Well, Paraguay might be upset, And Paraguay can say, we are no longer allowing the import of Ford motor vehicles into our country until you do X, Y, and Z. And that's perfectly fine. They can do that. And no one would have a problem with that, except the people in Paraguay who wanted Fords. They couldn't tell Ford Motor Company, you have to shut down.
Well, no, they
They
can.
just laugh.
They very much can, and Ford would say, we'll get right on that.
Yeah, exactly. So why is it? Because when we're doing internets, countries all of a sudden think they can do this sort of silliness. Wait, what do they not understand?
Well, the funniness here is that one, quote from this article, the court honored the request on Wednesday, but
The Brazilian court.
But legal experts say the ruling by the Brazilian court could be difficult to enforce in the United States, where YouTube is based.
If Brazil wants to keep YouTube out of Brazil, they can you can make all the ISPs in Brazil and block it.
Now, even worse, the people involved here are suing YouTube for $116,000 per day in damages for each day that the video remains up. And the video's been up for a while, and I don't think anything will come of that. But
what damages? You can't prove damages in a U.S. court for having a video like that on YouTube.
I mean, I guess you could if you were a professional porn star and now your marketability has been degraded from having it given away for free or something. But especially in this case, where neither of these people are terrible celebrities. I mean, it's not her having sex with Ronaldo. It's someone else.
Well, I mean, she is
Some
famous,
guy
I
named
guess,
Tato.
in other parts of the world, just not here.
You know what? She's not
she's just some hot chick.
$116,000 famous.
No, she's
let alone
not.
per day.
Not even close. At least not here.
See, the thing is,
She's hot, I guess.
part of the reason I generally don't like the idea of a world government is that I don't want to lose the ability that we have now to do things that should not be illegal in a country but are in countries where they are not illegal. A lot of the good things on the internet only exist because they exist in countries that don't have the shit laws that exist in some other places in the world.
Yeah,
And it goes
that is
both
one
ways.
problem with the world government is, one part of the world will be pissed off about something, and now you can either, it'd be difficult to outlaw something in one part of the world, but not the other part of the world. Or
Yeah, I mean, the way... and
you'll
don't
have
think,
one guy who's pissed off in, the middle of nowhere in Mongolia making a law that affects everyone else in the world just because one guy's pissed.
And don't think this is just like a one-way street with the U.S. There is stuff that has to be hosted outside the U.S., and there is stuff that has to be hosted in the U.S.
That is right.
It goes both ways.
So as long as different parts of the world, people like different things, and people will be able to get whatever they want. If we make everything homogenous, then there'll be this set of stuff you can get and the set of stuff you can't, and that'll be the end of it.
Right, so anyway, you got some news for me?
Yeah, well, the Creative Commons. Creative Commons is, it might seem like all they do is give out Creative Commons licenses. Well, they do more than that. They're actually, the Creative Commons Foundation or whatever they call themselves. And, they've just released a new tool, the Termination of Transfer Beta tool. It's beta. Basically, there is a copyright law that says if you sign away your copyright to someone else, that it is possible after a certain amount of time for you to terminate the transfer and take your rights back. For example, they give some hypothetical examples. I'll just read one of them. You're an author who wrote a book in 1965. You wrote it on your own time and dime, not as a part of your employment or at anyone else's suggestion, commissioning, or order. In 1980, you got a publication deal, so you signed exclusive publishing agreement with Big Book Corporation, which gave them the right to publish and distribute your book for the term of copyright, which is your life plus 70 years. They published it in the same year, in 1980, and now it's the year 2007. The book sold well, but your royalty check is pretty small. You want a better deal and want to see if you might be able to terminate the publishing deal. Well, there is a law that just allows you to do that. You can just terminate and get your rights back. Let's say you were a musician, and you signed away your music to a record company, and then that was a long time ago in like the 50s or the 60s. And now you want your music back. You can get it back.
Now, obviously, it's not trivial or terribly easy because there are a lot of people who aren't able to get their music back.
Well, here's the thing. Apparently, according to the Creative Commons, this law exists and you can just get your music back or get your rights back after a certain amount of time and under certain conditions. However, the bureaucracy and stuff necessary to actually do it is incredibly expensive and time-consuming and difficult, and you need lawyers and money. So while the law is basically clear that you can just get it back, the actual process of doing it is next to impossible. Hence, this new tool, which allows you to just get your shit back if you're allowed to have your shit back according to the law. And it's currently a beta tool, and it's not 100% yet, but as soon as it's done, you'll be able to get your rights back if you are legally allowed to do so. This is going to be the awesome.
I am all about this.
I mean, think about how many people, artists out there, made awesome stuff while they were working for some company. Or, think about how many, like musicians signed their music away to like record companies a bajillion years ago. Now imagine if they can take it back and, give the finger to these giant companies that just hold the rights to a million things. You'll have like these big TV stations forced to go into their vaults and grab old videos and films out of there. You'll have it'll be crazy. This will definitely help because despite the fact that copyright lasts so long, there'll be a lot of people who will just get their stuff and dish it out, because it isn't being held by some greedy ass who's going to hide it away forever. So if you have any copyrights that, you made some artwork like 35, 40 years ago, and you don't own it. And
how many of our listeners are over the age of 35 or 40?
And how many of the people who are over the age of 35 made something when they were 2 years old that's held, that they signed away to someone else?
Yeah, the only thing I've signed away is stuff I've done for jobs.
Yeah. Oh, they got a few hypothetical situations. I'm not sure exactly what the law is about what you can get back and what you can't under what conditions. But you can definitely get stuff back after a long enough period of time, even if your contract specified a longer period of time.
Without knowing those conditions, which I imagine are onerous, I don't know how big a deal this will actually be.
Well, I think that's what the tool is for. With the tool, you enter in, what you did, and then they'll tell you if and when you can get it back and how, and they'll let you do it.
Why don't we make some stuff up and use the tool and see what we can come up with?
Because we'd have to also prove that we were the people who, signed away the rights.
No, we just use the tool and try, and then they'll say, hey...
I'm pretty sure if I read more of the words on this page, it would just say what the provisions are.
Why don't you get on that? We'll wait.
Because I'm lazy.
Things of the day. So tonight, my thing of the day, actually Scott found this just before the New Year's party, and we...
Oh, no, I found it like a week or two ago. I just didn't actually show it to anybody.
Great. Well, eventually he showed it to a bunch of people at the New Year's party, and I finally just watched it. And I got to say, this is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've discovered a new stand-up comic who was funny.
Yeah, I listened to pretty much the same stand-up comics I listened to 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I mean, there's definitely new people out there in the stand-up comedy realm, and it is a entertainment medium I enjoy greatly.
Well, we have now discovered Russell Peters, who very much does the, white man do this, black man do that comedy, except he's Indian, and his twist is white boy do this, black boy do this, Indian boy do this.
He also does a lot of Chinese people do this. But
it's that style of humor. But give him a chance. It's pretty funny. And if nothing else, I suggest you watch the final bit we've linked to here, part 5.
Yeah, part 5 is definitely the funniest part. That's his grand finale joke, if you will.
Yeah, suffice to say, it involves probably our new catchphrase, somebody's gonna get hurt real bad.
Somebody. I think you might know him.
You might know him very well. I don't want to ruin it. I'll say now that knowing the punchline to the joke does not ruin the joke at all. In fact, if anything, it heightens the joke. Because he starts telling the joke, and if you know the punchline, you know exactly where he's going with it, and you'll be laughing all the same.
Yep. It's good. Definitely good stuff. And it's definitely, that, oh, it's so true. Oh, it's so true.
Yeah, because back in high school, I had several Indian friends, because there were just a lot of Indian people where my high school was. And suffice to say, their parents were all very much like that.
I definitely also have to say this guy, you can tell he's a talented comedian because, he doesn't just sit there and tell the jokes. His facial expressions and his body language is definitely dead on.
Like Eddie Izzard and this guy, it's kind of hearing them is funny, but seeing them is twice as funny.
Yeah, because like he does like a smile, a frown. He just hits it dead on. It's all good.
When he does the face of an angry Indian dad, that's exactly what Donald's dad looked like every time. Oh my! There's the raised, just the way they stand there and they back up a bit, like they're rearing back and they're just waiting, and they're gonna say something, and then they're gonna hit you.
Is somebody gonna get hurt real bad? All right. So it's been a while since I had Legos for my thing of the day.
It has.
And so I found this is perhaps one of the greatest Lego things I've ever seen. Lego, everyone knows what Lego is. But Lego Mindstorms.
Well, you mean Lego bricks.
Yeah.
You can't call them Legos.
Right.
Yeah.
Lego Mindstorms is a set of Legos that involves programmable motors. And, it's sort of a branch off of like the Technic Legos, which are like the mechanical gears and such. And it adds in electrical power and computer programming and a bunch of sensors, like, infrared sensors to those gears.
Like Legos with, robots in them.
Yeah, you can make Lego robots. They started it off with this great R2-D2 set that let you make an R2-D2. It was cool stuff. So some guy took this and he said, let's see what I can make. And people have made a lot of interesting things with Lego Mindstorms over the years in many different languages and all sorts of goodies. This guy made, get this ready, get ready, you ready?
I'm ready.
He made a Lego factory
now
out of Legos.
When Scott says Lego factory, I don't think you quite understand the scale of what this man has created.
Basically, he loads up one end of the thing with Legos in these trays. And these robots made of Lego grab these Legos and move them around and eventually put them together to create a Lego car.
Now, he even gets to pick the front end, back end, different colors.
Yeah, the way the machine works is there's a bunch of levers, and each lever is for a different color. So the first button you push is the front bit of the car, and the second button you push is the second piece of the car. And there's 4 bits of the car that you can change which color you want. And all the different color pieces are loaded into the machine. So you push color 1, you wait for the light to turn on. You push color 2, color 3, color 4, and then it puts together the car that you ordered.
It is quite sweet.
It takes a while to watch the video, like a good 6 minutes. It's not the most efficient machine, and it can only make one car at a time. But hot damn, this thing can make a Lego car. It's made of Legos. It's like a robot's making robots.
When robots make robots, that's generally not going to end well if they know what they're doing.
Yeah, the same. We know what happened when people made people. It wasn't good.
So anyway, we decided in spirit of the new year, we're not going to do what every other goddamn podcast did and do some sort of retrospective about 2006.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you the best of or the worst of or whatever.
Well, no, it's real easy. Best podcast, Geeknights. Best people, Front Row Crew. Best operating system, Linux.
Awesome.
That's it. Best person, I don't know, Richard Dawkins.
Best video games, Nintendo.
Yeah. Best video game, there's like 8 of them.
Best manga, still Osamu Tezuka.
By far.
All right.
Old mangaka.
Worst comics, Marvel and DC, still. Okay.
And certain webcomics that we could call out for hilarity.
No, best webcomics, still Penny Arcade.
Yep, I don't know. The Order of the Stick and Boasis are right there.
They are. Don't forget freaking Dr. Ninja and Wondermark and Perry Bible Fellowship. And
yeah, every webcomic we read.
Best webcomics, the ones we read.
For the most part. There are some I read that are not that good.
I read like 2 crappy ones.
Yeah, but everyone has their secret dark
That's
pleasure.
a new word, I think. What does decret mean?
Decret means a secret that you're ashamed of.
Ooh.
I like that a lot. Dark secret combined into decret.
It's very Japanese.
It is.
The way they say like lolicon instead of,
What, pedophilia?
Well, we know lolicon is Rim's decret. Okay.
We've got Katsu. Of course, it's not a decret. It's not even a secret.
Best place to buy computers, still Newegg.
Yeah.
All right.
Back in the day, it used to be, TC Computers?
No, that doesn't even count.
Or egghead.com?
Yeah.
All right, anyway, so we decided instead we would tell a Geek Fable, something we haven't done in a while.
Oh, gasp.
You see, this year...
Oh, that sucks for all you people looking for Zombies Part 2. Better luck next time.
I was all set to do zombies. I can do zombies any day, any time. But Scott really doesn't want it. He's really keeping us back here.
No, I just want to keep all the zombie people in suspense.
You know, it's not hard to keep zombie people in suspense.
That's the point. It doesn't take much effort, and it's fun.
Because, I mean, in a zombie, if you run around the corner away from zombies and the zombies are coming, you've got like 5 minutes before they get around that corner.
And those are a suspenseful fucking 5 minutes. All right.
So, this year, you might have noticed that we took a bunch of days off for the show because we threw, as we have for the last 2 years now, a crazy party in our house.
I think we threw one 3 years ago, but it wasn't in this house.
Yeah, and before that...
I don't really remember.
I was thinking...
And I wasn't drunk either.
Well, I was going through...
Because I've never been drunk.
At work today, all the New Year's we've had, and I've got pretty much the chronology of all of them that matter. You see, our first New Year's gatherings were not the most well thought out or awesome things. In fact, many of them sucked balls.
Quite.
And over the years, we learned what was wrong with our gatherings, and we refined them. And finally, now that we live here in the giant geek house, we were able to have perhaps the penultimate awesome party, because the ultimate party would require us renting out an anime convention over New Year's.
That would be good stuff.
Yeah. You know, there isn't a New Year's anime con, is there?
I don't think people would go. I have this feeling.
You know, I think that could be a small to lower mid-level con if marketed properly.
Maybe.
You'd have to market it to the same kind of people who go to Katsucon, like the slightly older...
I think you just have to... You couldn't call it a con. You have to be like, we're going to have the ultimate geek New Year's party. Come to the Geek New Year.
That bears further consideration.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, we thought we'd just kind of go through the various New Year's we've had and the pros and cons of all of them, because many of them ended in hilarity.
Well, in the early college days, I spent New Year's going home,
Yeah, our
for the
freshman
holidays.
year, we all went home, partly because we lived in the dorms, and our IT does this wonderful thing where they close the dorms and turn off the heat.
Great.
So, if you try to stick around campus over the holiday, Christmas, Kwanzaa, New Year's break, you'll just freeze to death if you don't get locked out. They change the locks and everything.
You might get locked in, which is even worse.
It wouldn't be so bad. It'd be like, here's Greenwood. Until you froze to death.
Yeah, not so good. If you watch that part of Here's Greenwood.
Yeah, so we, I went back home to Michigan and had a somewhat lame New Year's party with a bunch of people I knew in high school.
I had an average New Year's that year. Mostly like the New Year's kit came before.
So the next year, we decided, we'd made some friends, and we had some friends that we really respected, and they said that they were going to have some sort of New Year's party.
Was that the next year? I think that was 2 years later.
I think that was the next year.
I don't really remember.
All right, well, the next relevant party.
Yes.
And this is the one we'll start talking about. Some of our friends said, yeah, we'll have a New Year's party at our apartment because we have the best apartment for that. And we all said, you know what, cool, we'll show up. So, we don't even really think about it. We assume they're throwing a party. We'll just show up at it. It'll be great. These people are really cool. There's no way they could throw a lame party. So we get there, that day, and no one's there. Oh, turns out they're out of town. They're going to be back that evening, the evening of New Year's Eve. So we wait. And there's like one person in the apartment who's kind of sitting around. We brought some food and some snacks and some champagne, which I'll say now didn't get opened at all.
Nope.
Nothing. So we're waiting, and a couple more people show up, but the people hosting the party have not showed up yet.
And there's not too many people there. I mean, people are showing up, but there's basically an equal number of people who live there and an equal number of people who are there for a party.
There were like 8 people.
Not even.
Yeah.
Less than that.
Well, by the end, there were 8 people.
And we were sitting around like watching TV or something else lame.
Yeah, we started playing a couple of GameCube games.
Yeah, it was pretty ass.
So eventually, at like 11:50, they come in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all sitting there, and we're looking at them. And they don't even be like, hey, sorry, we're late. Hey, Happy New Year. They're like, oh, hey. And we sit there and we're like, hey. And then the Blue Man Group comes on the TV to do a little performance. And we all stood around silently watching the Blue Man Group count down the new year. And then we stood around for another 10 minutes. We went home. We went to bed.
And that was that.
That was perhaps the lamest evening of my entire life.
That wasn't the lamest. I mean, my lamest was like eating Chinese food alone on Christmas in Rochester. That was lame.
I feel bad now.
Okay, so anyway, what's the moral of this New Year, seeing as this is a geek fable?
Well, part of the moral, I think, would be if someone else is throwing an event and you have no control over it, do an accurate assessment of their ability to project awesome and plan accordingly.
Yeah, ask them, like, what's going to be going down.
Well, I guess it depends on how much you trust them. I mean, if you just trust someone, you just show up at their house and you know something's going to happen. But if you don't trust them, ask. Or more importantly, don't go to parties that give all the signs of not being awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because the odds are they won't be.
Like, if you're expecting a party and you show up at the house and you don't see partying, like, don't stick around.
Yes. See, this was before the Otakon and all that, where we realized that if people suck, you have to drop them like bags of dirt that's, I don't know what
Like
I was
a hot
going with.
potato.
But hot potatoes are great. You don't drop that. You eat that shit.
You don't hold on to it, though. You got to put it on a plate and wait.
No, you toss it from hand to hand, periodically taking a bite. You know what you do? You drop
You'll burn
it.
your mouth that way.
You drop it like dog poop that somehow ended up in your hands.
Okay.
You drop, wipe, and run.
Yeah.
So what we should have done. Here's how this party would have gone
Dog
down.
poop on your hands is actually better than on your shoe or your clothes because you can get it off pretty easily.
You know what? I have to agree because I've spent many a day picking dog poop out of the bottom of my shoe with a stick.
I've also spent many a day doing the same
And you know
thing.
what? There's always still some there.
There's always still some there. You got to use a hose and a better stick.
All right.
Okay.
So here's how this would have gone down now, being older and wiser. One, we probably wouldn't have even gone. We would have thrown a competing party. But say we were lame, whatever, we ended up going. We show up and there's no one there. We'd probably wait an hour. No
An
one's still-
hour?
Maybe, because we show up early in the day.
Okay.
No one shows up in an hour. We try to get a hold of the people throwing the party. If the answer they give is not awesome enough, or if we don't get a hold of them, we gather everyone who's at the party. We say, screw this. We're going to blah and having our own party. Who's with us?
Or we go to find another party. I mean, if you're at a college or something, it's not hard to find a party.
No, not
You
at all.
find someone, maybe you can find someone that maybe they're not your friend, like, directly, but they're a friend of a friend, or you know them from a class, you worked on a project with them,
Or just,
and they were cool.
if nothing else, wander around campus.
Yep. You'll find some people holding red cups going, woo!
Yeah, and I mean, if nothing else, just go home with all the people who were also burned by this crap party and have a party.
Yep.
All right. So after that moment, the next day, those of us who went to this and got burned by it are sitting around, and they had kind of a like mini after party the next day, but it was over. They had already failed in terms of New Year's.
Yep.
So we decided, all right, that will never happen again.
Next year, let's freaking do something.
So we planned, and we decided eventually that what we were going to do is we were going to get everyone who wanted to be cool together. We were going to carpool to Niagara Falls, because Niagara Falls is a rockin' town, and there's no way we wouldn't have a good time in Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
So we gathered up a good number of people, actually. We went in two cars that were crammed, stock full of people,
Yep.
and we went up to Niagara Falls. We parked at the casino, and we wander off into the street looking for a place to get Canadian dollars.
Now, if only we were 21, that casino would have been good stuff.
Scott, we could have gambled. It's Canada.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Why didn't we?
Because we'll get to that.
Okay.
The same reason we didn't.
I'm seeming
end
to
up-
remembering like we couldn't or didn't gamble for some reason, and that would have been okay if we did.
No. In fact, some of us.
Oh,
wanted
I
to
remember
gamble.
why. Okay, go on. I'll say it when it comes.
All right. So we don't go to the casino because I've been to the casino before, and it's not my favorite casino by any stretch. It's not a great casino, and it's full of smoke.
Yep.
So we go out into the street. We wander around a while. Eventually, we go to get Canadian money. And I get like $100 worth of Canadian dollars because I figure that'll do me, and I can use my credit card for anything else, like drinks at a bar.
Yep. I also got a fistful of Canadian dollars.
Now, a couple of our friends didn't even bother getting Canadian money, or if they did, got it in very small quantities.
They were either poor college students or cheap.
Now-
I think both.
We didn't even think about this at the time. Now, remember, I was poor, but I had at least some money at this time.
Yep.
So we're going around, and then we decide, all right, let's go get some dinner. We go to a really awesome restaurant.
It was all fancy. It wasn't crowded, but the food was awesome.
Yes,
The dessert was awesomer,
in fact, that was the first time any of us had encountered a chimney,
which is the awesome.
which is basically everything in the world on top of a banana.
Yep, it's a fried cheesecake, banana, ice cream,
Honey,
whipped cream,
caramel.
chocolate, syrup, caramel.
Oh my, with a cherry.
It's hot and cold and cheesecake.
It was, in fact, I remember when we were there, and there's a lot of us sitting around this table, and the waitress is like, do you want any dessert? And we're all like, no, we're good. And she says, have you ever had a chimney? We're like, what? And she explains what a chimney is. And by the end of her spiel, every single person at the table wanted one,
Yep.
which was a mistake. We probably could have gotten half as many. Those things were gigantic.
They're awesome.
So the bill turned out to be like over $200 Canadian, so like $5 back then. But it was a decent amount of money, and Scott and I didn't think much of it. I mean, we weren't rich, we weren't terribly poor, but we weren't that well. I mean, it was enough.
Yep.
We had enough money to have more fun.
I expected to pay that much.
So it turned out that many of the other people with us spent their last couple of dollars on this meal. But we'll get to why that fucked us. So then we wander around Niagara Falls. You know, we look at the frozen falls and all the lights. And there's this nice Christmas thing. And we're wandering around just having a good time in the street, talking to people, looking at things. Going to cheesy tourist stuff that's free and looking at it and poking it and walking around. We still got plenty of time before the new year. It's not even dark out yet. And then it starts to get dark, and a few of the people start complaining that it's cold.
It was kind of cold.
However, I would have expected that. It's Canada.
And the thing in Niagara Falls, there's not a lot of inside action. It's mostly walk around the street outside action.
Yeah, so...
Plus, there's a lot of running water there around there.
Yes.
And it makes it a little colder.
Plus, this wind started picking up.
Yep.
So a few people in the group are complaining that it's cold. Why aren't we inside somewhere? Why are we outside? And our response was, we came to Niagara Falls. Probably, if nothing else, to look at Niagara Falls, which is outside. Could have planned accordingly.
Yeah, why aren't you wearing warmer clothing?
So whatever, we're hanging out, and eventually half of the party decides, you know what? Fuck this. And they abandon us, crammed more people into the second car than could possibly have fit comfortably, and drove home.
Well, that was good for us because when we drove home, it was going to be nice and cozy.
So the few of us who remained decided, all right, now that the poor people are gone, and now that the complaining people are gone, we're going to have an awesome time. Now, at this point, I'll note that we weren't that wise yet to the ways of the world. And we're walking around, and we see a balcony. And there are rather attractive women hanging out with rather attractive men up on this balcony, holding drinks and wearing party hats. And they look down to us, and they wave. And they're like, hey, come on up. Woo! And they look like they're having a great time, and they're all rather attractive. So
And I wasn't just getting, there were a lot of places around where there were just people drinking and screaming. And I wasn't really into the drinking and screaming, but it looked like this place had a dance party. And I was like, oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we heard good techno coming out of there and everything.
Yep.
So we go in, we figure out, this back alley, we figure out the way to get into this place. There's a bouncer standing there in a little line.
I think it was actually a Hard Rock Cafe.
No, it was next to the Hard Rock Cafe.
Okay.
The Hard Rock Cafe, we walked by, and they wanted like $30 to get in, so we gave them the finger.
Okay.
So we got to this place, and the bouncer's there, so we all get in line. And halfway through the line, some of the people in the party say something to the effect of, is there a cover? Do we have to pay to get in here? And we're like, probably. And it comes down to, wait a minute, we don't have any money, we can't go in.
Yeah, me and Rim are standing there with money, like, wanting to pay to go in. Like, we're going in.
Yeah,
and
not
these
just
other
us.
people with us are like, we can't pay to go in. If you go in, we'll be stuck out here.
Now, it was pretty much like two people who couldn't go in, so it's not like it was just us who had money.
Yeah.
But we couldn't abandon the people who didn't have money. I mean, that would have been asshole-ish.
It would have been asshole. See, but the thing is, back in those days, we had not yet learned the plan of, drop people off by the side.
Well, also, because it was our planned event, we had no right to leave people behind.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, if we say we're going to show people a good time and we fail to take into account every factor, we'll deal with that.
Yeah.
Which might involve...
It's only because we said things already.
Yeah.
If we hadn't said things, if it was just, we're going to Niagara Falls, who wants to come, then we could have totally dropped them.
Yeah, but we definitely convinced a lot of people to come.
Yep.
So what we ended up doing, after, wandering around the sites for a while, is go into this outdoor bar with no cover and had these big heat lamps. And we stood around them, having a couple of beers or a couple of non-alcoholic beverages, talking, and it was generally a good time. And then we all stood up, yelled Happy New Year, stood around for another 10 minutes, and went home. Of course, on the way home, we had some trouble.
Oh, yeah.
You see, there's no moral here. Scott was driving, and the rest of us were intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
We pull up to the border, and Scott, I'll be the border guard, and you be you.
All right.
So when did you get into Canada, eh?
Earlier today.
And how long were you there?
Until just now.
And the guy stands there for a second, and he gives us this look of, somebody's gonna get hurt.
But I answered those questions. Like, I thought those were perfectly valid answers. I wasn't trying to be wise or anything. It wasn't until like a minute after saying what I said that I realized, did that sound like kind of like snarky? Because those are my honest answers. I was like, I got here earlier today. I'm leaving now. That's what he wanted to know. How many hours? I don't know. 6, 8, I don't know.
So we grilled us for a while. Why were we there? And, we gave normal answers.
But, everyone in the car puts their IDs up, and then you get them all back, and you go home.
Yeah. Now, also before that, the one good, really good thing that happened was, and I can't believe we didn't mention this, but before everyone gave up on it, we went into this bar/arcade where there was a DDR machine.
Oh, we played some drunken DDR.
We played a bunch of drunken DDR, and it was great fun.
I wasn't drunken, so I just played regular DDR.
Yeah, I played drunken DDR, and I
think it was a 5th mix machine.
It was, and this was before we were we weren't super, super good at DDR.
Yeah, this was
yet.
when 5th mix was new, so it was hot. And I was playing, basic.
Yeah, I played, 1 or 2 trick songs, and I was happy with myself.
Yep.
So, now, there's 2 morals here. The first moral is, if you're gonna do something like that, you gotta plan ahead. And you've got to plan ahead for all the people coming with you. Because anyone on a trip who fucks up, you can't just leave them behind in Canada.
Nope.
So you've got to deal with them. You've got to make sure that everyone with you on a trip where any one person can screw you is ready to deal with the consequences of being screwed or is not going to screw you.
It's like this. If you go to amusement park, right, and you bring 3 people in your car, and not everyone can afford to get into the amusement park, you have a problem.
Yes. Now, if one of those people, said they had enough money and it turned out they didn't, and then they decided they didn't want to go into the amusement park anyway, knowing full well that you would leave them behind, well, you leave them in the parking lot all day to die in the heat.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you say, hey, let's all go here, and it's not, known in advance, big monies, and you're not willing to pay for people, and there's semi-hidden expenses, then that's a problem.
Moral number 2, and we didn't realize this until later.
Or, I guess it also counts, if you go somewhere and then, anyone over only people 6 feet tall and taller are allowed in, and you bring some 5 feet people with you and you didn't know that rule existed, you can't, it would be kind of bad to go inside.
Yeah. So the moral number 2, and we figured that we didn't really worry about it, we didn't think about it, we didn't get into that party, but in retrospect, being older and wiser, we realized that party was most likely hiring those people to stand at the balcony and trick people into paying the cover and going in. And there's a good chance there was a totally lame party. That's a very, very common tactic, especially in places along the Canadian border where Americans who aren't old enough to drink in America but are old enough to drink in Canada frequent.
Well, any place where there's college students hanging out for a party does that kind of thing.
So if you see people who are very attractive hanging out in an obvious, hip, awesome way in a balcony that's visible to the outside.
Yeah, because, you don't get to go on balconies and hang out. I mean, when have you ever gone to a party where there was, a balcony and you could totally go be awesome on it? And, and when were you out there, inviting people from the street to come up who were just schmucks? Never. I don't think anyone.
So while we failed to get into that place, we can't blame the people who caused us to fail because they actually saved us 15 Canadian dollars each. So then we had a couple other random New Year's parties. We tried to just have one at our colony apartment, which went okay. The apartment was too small to do much. And
So I guess the other moral is, if you're a geek looking for geek action and you go somewhere where all there is drinking and going, woo, is not going to be too much awesome there for you.
Not at all.
I mean, the DDR was the awesomest part. We should have just stayed and played DDR the whole time.
We did for a while, though.
Yep, we should have basically spent the whole time playing DDR until we ran out of money.
It was like $2 Canadian a game, though.
Yeah, it was too much. Anyway.
All right, so then, we don't really need to tell the story of our Geek House parties, other than that once we had a house that was big enough, immediately that New Year's...
This house isn't big enough.
Well, it was big enough. Now it's not.
Barely.
Considering that much of the front row, our house was filled beyond capacity this past weekend. We could not have comfortably dealt with any more people. And in fact, we could not have comfortably dealt with the people we had. Our house was an unmitigated disaster. And we're just now finishing cleaning it up.
Not even. We're halfway done cleaning it up, I think.
Yeah, I still got to mop a couple times. And then we got to steam clean the apartment.
I got to clean them bathrooms. I purposefully didn't clean them before people came because I knew they were going to mess them all up.
Yeah.
And they did.
Now, we're not going to talk about how we ran an awesome party because that would be a whole different episode on how to run a party.
Just let it be said that if you want an awesome party to happen, there's that rule that always applies. If you want something done right, do it yourself.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
Somebody's gonna have some things of the day real soon.
That's not funny.
I thought that was kind of funny.
No, not so good.
Fine, I'll do it again.
No.
Things of the day!
Aw, shit.
That was lame.
Aw, shit.